Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. Super excited to be here with you all today. Let's just check the sound. Okay, awesome. I was hearing feedback, but I'm not hearing it anymore. So Sergio, just edit that part out. I'll start over. hello, and welcome to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. Very excited to be here with you all today and talk to Dorianne St. Fleur. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Cool. So this is going to be a really good discussion. Really excited to speak to Dorianne about her experience. I met her through, I think, Mobile General Counsel first, actually. So, yeah. So this is going to be, oh, you know what it is? I may be on, make sure I'm not on Facebook. Okay. Do you hear any feedback?
No.
Okay, so it's just me. All right, then I can work through it. All right, so I originally met Dorianne through Mobile General Counsel. She became a client of the law firm, and then our relationship just evolved from there. She was already a powerhouse, already super successful, had a very clear vision about where she wanted her life to go, and I'm going to let her formally introduce herself, but I wanted to say from the outset, one thing I have always respected about you, Dorianne, I don't know if you know this, is like, if you feel like something is energetically misaligned, you are not afraid to pivot. And I love that. And I think that certainty and clarity will help you to not only have a very lucrative career, but a really fulfilling career, which I think is even more important. So formally introduce yourself to the Speak Your Way to Cash audience. Let them know what you do, who you serve, and how you serve them. And then we'll go from there.
Sounds good. I'm so happy to be here, Ashley. So thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Dorianne St. Fleur, and I'm a high performance mindset and career coach for ambitious women of color. And basically what that means is that I provide coaching, speaking, consulting services that really aim at advancing women of color in the corporate world. I want them to make more money. I want them to have more impact, and I want them to thrive at work. And it's so funny that you talked about what you've noticed about me around being aligned and fulfillment. It's I walk what I talk, and this is what I help women of color do. And so absolutely having a dream career that's fulfilling is what I'm about.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been an amazing evolution to kind of see where you were and where you have grown to, and even just seeing in real time the growth that is happening and how it'll happen. So let me know, where was your speaking business prior to joining Speak Your Way to Cash Academy and getting connected with the Speak Your Way to Cash community? What was working, what wasn't working, and kind of where were you at in terms of figuring that out?
Yeah, so my speaking career was sporadic, I guess is the word that I'd use. Yes, I'd had some speaking engagements. Yes, some of them were paid, but there was no strategy behind it. There was no objectives, no goals. It was just like, if someone reached out, okay, I'll figure that out. And so it just wasn't anything that had any structure behind it. And what I realized that I wanted some structure. I knew that having a speaking engagement, having a speaking career where I could use my voice to impact many people and many organizations was something that I wanted to do. And so I really just wanted to figure out, how do I make this sustainable, repeatable, put some infrastructure around it. So I'd say sporadic is a short answer before I met you.
Okay, that makes sense. And one of the things that struck me is when we met, your business was already achieving a lot of financial success quickly, and you were just trying to figure out, like you said, how do you make it last? So what was your journey from leaving corporate to starting your own business, and how did that work? Because I know that I remember you describing it as pretty much divine.
Exactly. And every time someone asks me about how did I leave corporate and what was that whole process like, I have to preface it by saying it was divine alignment. I don't have a playbook for you. It all happened. But what happened was my last corporate stint was at Google. I was doing diversity and inclusion strategy work there. I loved it. I relocated across the country for it. I was doing work that I enjoyed, but there was just a tugging that I had in my spirit that it's time for you to go. And it was something that I had before COVID. And so I left my job in June of 2020. So we're talking about the heart of the pandemic. And I had this date in mind before everything happened. And I had to go back and pray and say, wait a second, we still doing this date because there's a pandemic and there's uncertainty. And I got confirmation that yes, it's still the time. And literally I left my job on June 1st was my last day. And by June 5th, I had consulting clients. I had a whole website. I had, just training lined up, things like that. And it was lightning speed. And I think that was what really prompted me to figure out, how do I get some structure behind this? Because I don't want it to disappear as quickly as it has come into me. And so I need to make sure that I have the systems in place and make sure that this is a process. But it was really just being ready. I tell my clients all the time, you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And I had the vision. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where my expertise lied, and I wasn't afraid to take the leap. I wasn't afraid to take chances. And it really allowed me, it's been a year that I've left corporate, and it really allowed me to just the trajectory has been exponential in just how quickly things have happened.
Yeah, it's been fast. It has been fast. So and I think there are a lot of people watching or listening to this who are like, okay, this sounds like something that I relate to. I want to be energetically aligned. I need to reach out to Dorianne about how to have a more fulfilling career. But for the person listening who's like, all right, I want to take that same leap, but I want some guidance. Do you remember how you even came into contact with me and what made you say, okay, I'm ready to invest with her? Like, what was that like? Because there's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of people preaching that they can help your business succeed financially and give you strategy. How did you decipher who you were going to work with?
Yeah, so when I met you, it wasn't initially around speaking. So I'd heard about Speak Your Way to Cash maybe like a year or so ago. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But it wasn't speaking again, was not something that I was thinking about making a career. And so when I actually entered your world, it was through Mobile General Counsel, because I was getting these contracts, I was getting these clients, and I didn't know, like, what do I put in a contract? How much am I like, what's happening? And so I don't even remember how I found out about Mobile General Counsel. It's coming back to me. Actually, it was an ad. Actually, it was an ad for a free webinar or something that you did. And I got on there, and you were dropping them gems, you were speaking, you were putting down the all the things. And I was like, oh, okay, this woman knows what she's speaking about. And I did the audit with you first, and you kind of just mapped everything out. It just felt like you knew what you were talking about, and that you had experience with this yourself. You being a business owner, you making the transition, you having these contracts. And so I just felt, obviously I prayed about it, and I just felt like it was aligned, and it was what I was supposed to be doing, and you were who I was supposed to be doing it with. And then through that relationship, realizing that, oh, this is the Speak Your Way to Cash woman as well. And really understanding that I wanted to make this a business. I already had a successful coaching business. Like I already, so it wasn't that I was starting from scratch, but I wanted to take my business to the next level, and realizing that you had a whole arm of your business around speaking and how to really get visible and make this a business, this speaking a business, was something that really intrigued me.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So I'm glad that you talked through that thought process, because I know that it can be hard for people to figure out who really has experience and not, and you for those of you listening, you do not want surface level experience. You want depth. Like people who can give you language for contracts and what to say when you're negotiating. Like you need depth. Otherwise, like one wrong word or one wrong position can cost you so much money on the contracting side. So when you entered Speak Your Way to Cash, I know that we like to talk about monetary wins, and we'll get to that. But I also love hearing about mindset wins. What was the first or early big mindset shift you remember having that has transformed the way you've operated?
I really think it was around how much I could monetize my expertise and the value. So I don't have a problem charging. I'm not one of those people who like, oh, I'm supposed to be poor. No. I had no problem charging, but there was a ceiling that I was hitting, and I didn't realize that my years of experience in the corporate world, the wins that I've had with my clients, the knowledge that I've gained from research and my natural ability, that's marketable. And there's a lot more that I could achieve, and there's a lot more that I can charge, and there's a lot different rooms that I could be in. And I think it was hearing your story, hearing some of your other clients' success, being in the space where we're encouraging each other and sharing, it really helped me understand how much money I was actually leaving on the table. So it was something around, you have the expertise, you're good at what you do, you can charge for this, you absolutely deserve to be in this space. I think those were some of the early mindset shifts for me.
Yes, definitely. And I remember us talking about doing all the work and how when you feel that you have to do all the work, it can be very overwhelming. But there is a way to build a team where you can land these large contracts, subcontract out, still be extremely profitable, but not get that burnout. So that is something else that I think that we talked a little bit about that I would just love for you to touch on. Like, how did you, because I feel like there were times when you were like, okay, I feel like I can do this. Obviously, I have the confidence, I have the expertise, but it seems like it's going to be a lot of work. How did you start to realize, or what shift did you need to make to realize that landing a 6-figure contract, landing a 5-figure plus contract didn't mean I got to throw the kitchen sink in the deal?
Yeah, that was something direct that came directly from a conversation with you. I really thought that if these organizations are signing on to work with me, they're paying me a lot of money, then I have to have my hands in everything and I have to do everything and it has to be me all the time. And I remember speaking with you and saying, like, yes, you're the expert, right? There's certain parts of this that you have to be oversee and be a part of, but there's also many aspects that you can outsource, that you can get other experts. You don't have to create a whole training, get an instructional designer to do that, right? And so just breaking down the different aspects of the contract and seeing what I could outsource versus what I need to do myself, it just transformed everything. There's no way the contracts that I'm getting now, and just there's no way I could still be doing this and sustaining in this way if it was all on me. And so that process of just realizing, and I just didn't even think of it. There's so many times I have conversations with you and I'm like, that didn't even occur to me. Like, I didn't even think about just hire an instructional designer, hire some more trainers. Those sorts of things just didn't occur to me. And so just realizing that, yes, there's work in having a team, right? Yes, there's added layers there, but the benefits far outweigh, once you have the right team, the benefits far outweigh the cons, I guess, as you're building out the team.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The other big thing that we talk about a lot is pricing. And I get so many questions from Speak Your Way to Cash audience members and listeners who are like, how do you set your price? What's the formula? What's this? What's that? And I always say, the standard price is like $7,500 for a full-time speaker. But I always tell the members of the academy and the people that I work with, y'all ain't standard. So you should be charging well above that because of the expertise that you bring. And I know the people that I attract, like they're brilliant. They're brilliant. They're not playing games with it. They have either the educational experience, the corporate experience, or experience as an entrepreneur doing something great. But still there is like apprehension to raise that price. So what like talks did you have to have with yourself that actually allowed you to raise your price so that you could land larger contracts, but you weren't like doing 50 speeches for them?
Mm-hmm. For me, that really just came from seeing other people do it. So like I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of mindset blocks, but not a lot around like pricing and all of that. And so once I heard, oh, somebody charging $15,000 for 45 minutes. Once I heard, oh, people have contracts for 300,000. I just needed to hear that it happens. And then I was like, oh, okay, now I can kind of go into that. And so I think for me, it was just knowing that it was out there, knowing that it was possible, was the shift that I needed to do that. And I know in times past, or when I'm talking to other people who have issues with it, I think it's just understanding that your experience matters. Like, you can monetize this. Like, you deserve to be compensated well for the value that you provide. I really just don't know. I don't even know how else to say it. The value that we have as women of color, Black women, we provide value. Like, we work hard for what it is that we're giving, and so we should be compensated for it. And so, to me, it's just remembering that your work has value, remembering that the contributions that you are giving to these places, these organizations, through your talks, through your consulting, you're leaving them in a better place than when you found them, and you should be paid for that.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like, co-sign on all of that. You 100% should be paid for it. And I think what you said is so critical, is like knowing that other people have done it makes it easier for you to put your best foot out there. And then for everyone listening, I want you all to take it a step further. Not only have other people done it, and is it possible theoretically, but you need to take that leap that, like, it's possible for me. Like, I can do it. Not only can she do it, or can Dorianne do it, or can Ashley do it, or Farah, or any of the other wonderful people we have in our programs. Not only can we do it, y'all can do it. Like, y'all can do this. This is a thing. And it's not a huge leap for a company. And I think sometimes we think, oh my goodness, they're doing us this huge favor by paying us all this money. No, they need the result. They need the expertise that you provide, and you have a way to do that. And you would talk about all of the wins that you've gotten for your corporate clients. And so even in hearing about some of the things that you've been able to help them do and increase retention and all of that, it's like, no, that's so valuable. So I want to talk about something else. Because we talk a lot about 5 and 6 figure contracts at Speak Your Way to Cash, but I know that there is the moment before you press send on the 6 figure contract or the 6 figure proposal. It could be a thing if it's newer, right? And I know now that I'm just claiming that is your new normal. 6-7 figure contracts, that is your new normal. So this is not a thing, right? But in the beginning, when you landed that first 6 figure contract or hit send on that big proposal, and it was viable, very viable for them to sign, before they signed, what was that like for you? Was there any apprehension? Were you like, okay, this is a big deal? Were you checking to see if they signed? How was that experience for you?
There was absolutely apprehension. So I sat on it for about like a week before I even sent it. It was all ready to go. And I was like, let's do this. But I was like, am I really about to send a proposal for 6? Like, am I really about to do this?
Yeah.
And a year after I've left my job, like a couple months into this program, am I really about to do this? And so I sat on it for like a week and just kept saying, I don't know. And some of the things that were going through my head was just around, like, can they afford it? It wasn't even about me per se, but it was like, is this too much? Can they even afford this? Am I blocking this opportunity because I'm going to price myself out? Like, just all the things that were happening and going on. And finally, it must have been after one of our group sessions, I don't know, but I just said, you know what? Like, that's it. It's time for me to stop playing around. And I just went ahead and hit send on that. And then, yeah, it's like, did they respond yet? Like, I got a ping? Is that them? And so just really, having to manage my emotions and everything through that. But it's definitely, it gets easier, right? Now I'm like sending proposals left, right, and center, right? But that first one, it was really like, I don't know. And then for it to be accepted, my first time sending this large contract, and for it to be accepted with no questions asked, which probably means it was too low. So next time, we got to raise it. But
we can raise
it. It was just a really validating experience for me. And so, yeah, it's simple. It's simple, right? Just do this, but it's not necessarily easy, right? There's some things that you're going through and in your head when you have to make these leaps.
But I love that. And I remember when you sent it, and then I remember when you were in negotiations with them and we were framing like how you were going to have the sales calls. And for those people listening who are like, oh, she just sent a 6-figure. No, she had a call. She framed it out like people knew what she was bringing to the table, and the language that you utilize really gives your corporate clients confidence that they're getting something that's immensely valuable. So talk about that a little bit, because I think that people think, it is simple, but it's strategic too. So how did you start to change the way you were framing what you were offering so that clients can see the value? Because it's very possible that there's people listening right now who have a 7-figure proposal inside of them. What they're giving is worth that, but they haven't communicated that to the client appropriately. How did we help you to kind of frame what you were offering in a way that was it was more valuable, but it was the same underlying service?
Yeah, I think really just understanding that I'm the only person on this planet
Yes.
that delivers my consulting services aligned with my framework. Nobody else has this framework. It's trademarked thanks to Mobile General Counsel. Um, and it's something that only I do. And so being able to talk about the fact that, yeah, I mean, you can go to other consultants and you can do this work, but what I do is specifically aligned with this framework. Here are the results that I've gotten. Here's what I'm seeing. Like, you just show up differently when you're speaking about being the only instead of having to compete with everyone else.
Yes, and that is how you price outside the market. It's so critical, and it's authentic, because I think when we say things, there are some people who will see, and I see this all the time with Black. I feel like Black people are naturally unbelievably creative. And a lot of times people will say, "Oh, she's so talented," or "Oh, she's so this, she's so that." But when you have a proprietary framework that is developed, well researched, that you've talked about, Dorianne has been on the news talking about her framework. Okay, like TV baby. Like, this is well developed, well established, and I feel that, and just to clarify, this has been well established relatively quickly. So the news has happened within, what was that, like 60 days? You were on television, or was it 90 days?
Yeah, I think it was like 60 days or so. Yeah.
So, I mean, media interviews, all of those things that you've done leading up to this point, strategically aligned for that moment, in my mind, because it all works together. And best believe corporations will Google you, even if they don't say, "Oh, we Googled you before this call." They always are Googling you. So getting some of that social proof is important, but these are things that you all can do. And it's stuff she already had. It was repackaged. It was repackaged to make it clear to the consumer. But these are ideas and strategies that she has uniquely been helping corporations with, just in a package that they can see the value. So I love that. So we talked about how it was to sit in it.
Can I add one thing here? I think this is really important. So it may seem like we're talking about how quickly all this stuff happened, and it did, but this was, and you just said this and it sparked this was years in the making.
Yeah.
And this was and not just so I've had my business for 6 years, not just that. I've been working for 15 plus years. And all of that, I always tell people, all your experience matters. So for people listening, don't sit here and think, well, I just started my business last month. There's no way I can do this. All of your experience matters. Your academic experience, your volunteer experience, your work experience. It's just time for you to repackage it and be confident in how you're positioning it. But don't let the speed of things make you miss the fact that I was laying the groundwork for 15 plus years, and I'm sure you are as well. Everything matters. It's just about being creative in how you position it.
Everything matters. Everything matters. And I'm so glad that you highlighted that point, because no one comes to work. Like, I heard it was another coach that said this, and I don't know his name, but I thought this was really funny. He said, "I don't help losers win. I help winners win more." And I was like, that's exactly what I do. Like, I want to be honest about the fact that there is not a single woman in my program who hadn't accomplished things before she met me. And there are some coaches that misconstrue that. Like, "Oh, I helped them do this, I helped them do that." Look. I helped with the strategy to put together the beautiful gems that they have been developing their entire lives. And we only work with people who are already successful, who are already winners, because we want to help winners win more. Okay. That's what we want to do. So I love that. And even you talked about the years, but I want you all to think about the minutes you spent studying if you were in school, the hours you spent clocking into work if you worked in corporate, the minutes you spent working in your business and developing and reading and in webinars. All of that people have to pay for, because once you give your intellectual property, their lives will be changed forever. One sentence in one of your workshops could change someone's mindset forever. And that has immense, immense value. So I love that. We talked about how you sent the contract, what that felt like. You mentioned that it was accepted. How was that when they signed the contracts? I remember where I was when they signed your contract, or when you told us they signed your $100,000+ contract. I know where I was to the T. Okay, so how was that? Like, it getting accepted? Did you scream? Were you excited? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I have my happy dance that I always do whenever money hits I know money is coming, but it was just so surreal. It was so exciting. It was definitely, I'm a person who like celebrate the wins, whether it's get your glass of champagne, whether it's go get you, buy you something, whatever it is. So I definitely celebrated, definitely did a happy dance, came right in a group and told the group like that this has happened. It was just validation. Like, not that I needed, not approval per se, but just like, yes, the path that you're on makes sense. Keep going. This just validated all the work that I've been doing.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I'm just so excited and thrilled for you. And it is validation. It is 100% validation. And can you talk about where do you want to go from here? Like, what have you decided? Have you gotten more clarity around what you want to offer the world long term? And what does that look like? Like, where are you going to go from here? What shifts and pivots have you made to get the clarity? Like, this is what I want to do for the world for the next X amount of years.
Absolutely. I feel like, and this goes back to the earlier point that you talked about, I think we should always be in a state of just recalibrating, realigning, making sure that things still line up. And while June 2020 was just a year ago, right? So much has happened and so much has changed in myself, in my business, in the world since then. And so I think it only makes sense that I'm recalibrating and kind of shifting and doing all of that. And so while when I first started, when I, left my job and pivoted into the consulting, it was squarely diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is what I'm doing. We're doing all the assessments, things like that. And as have I gone through this process, really understanding where my expertise lies, my interests, my skill set, it's really still within inclusion, but more aligned with advancing women of color, people of color in the corporate world. So my programming, my training, the things that I'm talking about are more aligned there instead of at the organizational level, if that makes sense. And so it's not that it's a pivot, it's just laser focused, getting more focused into what is it I'm doing, who am I serving, and how do I want to attack this challenge. I still absolutely care about inclusion and equity and diversity and all those things in the workplace. But instead of taking a more macro approach, I'm now digging into the different demographics and subsets and providing resources and programming for them specifically, as well as the people who manage them and manage their career. So I just feel so aligned. I feel laser focused. I feel like this is a culmination of all the work I've been doing with coaching, with speaking, from childhood. Like, this, where I am right now, is a culmination of all of that. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's just only going to get better. And I feel like for you, and for everyone listening, whenever you achieve a milestone, you now know that dream, what once was a dream, is a reality. So now you got to push yourself. Like, now is the time that's like, okay, so what is the thing that if I saw it on a check, it would blow my mind? Like, I can't even imagine it. That's your next number. I don't know if that's a $7 million contract. I don't know what it is for you. You guys sit on that. Okay. But I just want you to know, like, you are incredible. Like, I'm so happy for you. I'm so excited. And I'm so glad that you had the poise, the confidence, the strategy, the expertise to really ask for what you were comfortable with. And now you can go higher, because if they didn't ask no questions, then they're like,
right.
They're over there like, oh, I gotta steal.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking to my husband. Like, they didn't even push back. Like, something.
Oh my goodness. And how does your husband feel about all this?
He is over the moon excited. He was saying the other day, just to see the growth from when I started back in 2005, saying I'm going to start a business, and now to see that supports our family full time, that I'm, on TV and just doing all these things and getting these clients. I think he's absolutely the biggest cheerleader that I have.
That's amazing. I love that. I'll have to meet him one day because Chris is very excited and similar in that regard and very, very, very supportive. So before we head out, I have to ask, because you attended Speak Your Way to Cash Live 2020. And I think that was the first intro into you seeing how I teach the paid methodology and the stuff that we teach in the Speak Your Way to Cash Academy. How was the event for you? What was that experience like? And what would you say to someone who's thinking about attending this year?
Go to the event. If you're thinking about it, just there's nothing to think about. It was such an amazing experience. It was fired up. I left there fired up with a plan, with revenue goals, with I was fired up after that event. I think that just to see the specifics, it wasn't like you were just giving us like theory or maybe this is what you can do. You really talked about the specifics, the mechanics of it all, having the guest speakers that came in, the vibe. It was virtual, right? We it was, heavy in the pandemic and lockdown, but the vibe that you were able to curate virtually, and just seeing the receipts that you had, that your clients had, it was just an inspiring time and filled with a lot of meat that you can walk away with and really have what you needed to kick off your speaking career for the next year.
Yeah, like I had so much fun last year, but I'm even more excited this year because it'll be hybrid. So a lot of the Academy students will be in person. Hopefully you'll be in person. But we have a lot of people in person, and then we have some folks who'll still be virtual. It's up to you how you want to do it. We will have all the protocols, y'all. But after you have a dope event like that and you're all fired up, it was like, then I pressed end on the event and I'm like, no one's here. So it's like, I can't keep key with nobody. Like, no one's here except my husband was there, my family was there. But I'm excited to actually have at least some people in the room, socially distanced, so that we can feel that energy in person. But I'm also thrilled that a lot of you from all around the world will be joining virtually. I think last year we had people from 6 different countries come, and we have 250 seats this year, 200 virtual, 50 in person. So if you thought this interview was good, you learned some stuff that you enjoyed, then let me coach you for 3 days. It's in Chicago, Illinois, or virtual if you want to attend from home. But go to speakyourwaytocash.com/event. And if you register early, you can come to our live pre-prospecting party where I will show you how I find leads and pitch them live, like on the spot during the event, during the pre-event, the pre-party. And only folks who register early get that bonus, okay? So go to speakyourwaytocash.com/event and hang out with myself, some of my clients, great speakers, great people, and meet your new, meet people who are on the same page, because that's what I love most about the Academy is so many of us are on the same page. Like, even if someone falls off, you can go to the group and say, hey, I fell off. I haven't pitched nothing, but I'm ready to recommit. How are you doing this? What did you deal with this? Like, what do you think about this landing page? Because I think that community is so critical in keeping you focused. Have you found that the community aspect of it has all been very helpful?
Absolutely. Like, I speak to a couple of the women outside of just our group sessions, and being able to vent and share best practices and get advice is priceless.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So where can we find you, Dorianne? I have a lot of corporate women who are watching. This is also live streamed on LinkedIn, so I know we have a huge corporate audience. Where can women find you who want more fulfillment in their corporate careers?
yourcareergirl.com is the website that you can find me. And I am absolutely thrilled. Anyone who's in Ashley's network is a friend to me. So I'm thrilled to connect with anyone.
Absolutely. And is there anything coming up that you want us to know about? I hear there's a book coming out soon.
Yes. My debut book, Deeper Than Work, How Women of Color Can Make More Money, Have More Impact, and Thrive in the Corporate World, will be coming out this summer. And so I'm really excited. It's basically culminating the 6 years of coaching and the wins and the how I've catapulted the women that I work with, their careers, all in this book. So I'm super excited.
Oh my goodness, guys, please go get that book. When it comes out, Dorianne, share the link and I'll send out an email to my list to make sure people can pre-order it or do whatever they can to support that, because I love the work that you do. And y'all, she really does practice what she preaches. Like, Dorianne will hit me in a minute on some, this is no longer the direction. Like, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, what we doing? So I love that. Like, continue to follow your heart. Like, so much of what I tell people is you have to figure out what's in your heart. Like, what do you really desire? Because whenever you're not moving towards a goal, it's typically a belief issue. It's typically like something isn't aligned. Either you really don't want it or there's fear, but whatever it is, your emotions are almost like GPS. Like they're telling you something. They're telling you to go somewhere, to turn left or turn right. And so I admire your courage to follow your heart in a way that really is unique, especially in today's day and age. So kudos to you. Go to yourcareergirl.com, get on her list. And if nothing else, go to yourcareergirl.com, get on her list. Make sure you follow her on Instagram. It's also Your Career Girl, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So you all can find her there, and I'll be sure to post links to all of her wonderful, her book when it comes out, and also her website so that you all can go there and follow her. Any final tips? If you had to get a tip to a speaker who's listening, who can't even imagine landing a six-figure contract right now, what is the one tip that you would give them in closing?
I would say all your experience matters. You'd be surprised at the story that's in you, how much value your voice already has. It's just time for you to unleash that. And so everything you've done up until this point matters and can help you catapult into your next level.
Yes, I love that, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Speaker Ready Cash. Let me know if this episode helped you. Leave a review. Shout out Dorianne on Instagram. And as always, guys, one pitch can change everything. Just continue your path so that you can start speaking your way to cash. Talk to you guys later.